Hi everyone, I'm Natalia. Welcome to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about psychology behind spiritual objects that we work with, that actually are vessels, and how I work with them. Now, as you know, me being a psychologist, I can't help but look at the spirituality, especially tarot and all the other spiritual tools, including not only tarot, but also occult arts such as witchcraft and other things from a psychological point of view. And it's always interesting for me to look at it from that point of view. And today I'll be talking about specifically objects that are spiritual. Now, tarot is definitely spiritual, but objects that are also vessels. Now, what's a vessel to me is going to be different than what's a vessel to you. To me, objects that are vessels are objects that intuitively feel like they're here to hold, or they're not hold. They're here capable of taking on energy. And like I said, what's a vessel to me is going to be different than what's a vessel to you. And I'm going to share with you three primary reasons, psychological reasons that I see for working with these objects as spiritual vessels, and how they can help us in our self-growth and our self-development. Now, I'm sure there's other beyond the three that are just my change. This is how I work with them. I will also be showing for you what my vessels look like. So I want to also clarify this, because a while back somebody asked me whether tarot can be a traditional object. Now, traditional object is a psychological term stemming from, I'm pretty sure, stemming from Winnicott, who was a British psychoanalyst, and he was working with children, and he observed that whenever a mom or a close caregiver would leave the room or disappear, kids would start clinging to a blankie or a little toy or a doll as a traditional object to help them soothe their self-anxiety that they were experiencing. And if any of you have kids, you probably noticed when your kids were younger that they would cling to a blanket or to a toy. I know this because my sisters have kids, and I see them clinging to the blanket all the time. And that's a form of traditional objects. And the reason why kids cling to the blanket is because they're trying to self-soothe anxiety because mama is leaving, or the caregiver or daddy is leaving, whoever they're attached to at that moment. And they need that mentalizing aspects that this person hadn't really fully left. And they do that until they're able to integrate, assimilate a concept of having a mommy or daddy or caregiver, or whatever it is for them, inside within them. So somebody asked me whether tarot is a traditional object, and I said that I think for some people it could be, but I doubt it if it is a traditional object for a lot of folks. I think tarot is something else. So when I'm talking about vessels, I want to clarify for any of you, because I know there's one or two viewers who are also either mental health providers or psychologists themselves, who asked me these questions, and I just want to clarify, no, I don't see this as a traditional objects at all. I see them as vessels, and I will explain what they represent. So my first vessels that I started to experience came in a form of skulls that were shaped from either stones or crystals. And I only have some to show you, but I have probably maybe 13 of them. They all come from Ivo Manos. He's an amazing, amazing skull crafter. This one is called Faina. This is my ancestral skull. She's always sitting on my ancestral space, where I have a photograph of my father, and I have a photograph of my great-great-grandmother and my grandfather. And there's a shot of vodka for my dad all the time, and a cigarette for my grandfather, who used to smoke. So she's sitting there because she's ancestral, and she's Faina is the name of my great-grandmother, so she's named after her too. I got to know the skulls from Kasia from TerraMap, and I got obsessed with Ivo's work. Ivo is the only one who touches the skulls that he works with, and he never knows what's going to come through. This one is called Jax. This is the one my husband bought for me. This one has an energy of a thief. He likes to steal things. He is mischievous, and he just gets into trouble all the time. I love how his brain is about to explode. And then I have this one is called Basta. This one is a gangster. This one is a little bit of a rebel energy. So like I said, I only have a few here to show you this big, beautiful, I think this is adventuring, beautiful gorilla-like. Look at her brain. This one is called Nina. She's very maternal. She's very nurturing. Oh, she's very sweet. I love holding her. I love holding heavy objects. I'm a big girl, so I like heavy objects. And if you notice, I tend to wear chunky jewelry for that reason. This is Papa Legba. I love him. This is Soldalite, I believe. Gorgeous. I love, this is one of my favorite colors other than black is either this kind of type of blue. So beautiful. Oh, this one sits on my altar because this is, yeah, this is the other world. I also have my astro. Look at this. My astro comes from a very special stone. Oh my God, I'm trying to remember the name of the stone. And my astro is connected to the universe. My astro is a big source. So these are just some of my skulls. I started working with them as vessels. I see them as vessels. Now, I haven't been working with skulls for a long time as vessels primarily because I use oils. I use ritual oils. I use magical oils. And with stones, it is, when they're not porous, so there's no way an oil is going to sink in. And that was one of the main reasons why I stopped working with them. But I can't say that I stopped all the way working with them, but I currently work with another vessel. So let me show you what I currently work with. So currently, the vessels I work with are this amazing dolls made by an amazing, phenomenal creator, Hagroot. I'm connected to her on Instagram. She makes oils, and I use a lot. I'll share it with you guys. There's only 2 oil makers that I absolutely love. She makes amazing oils that I absolutely adore. Another one that I adore is Rosarium. Both of them are my favorites. She makes these dolls. She makes them small like this, but then she also makes big with human hands and feet, and I have 2 of them. And there was a little miscommunication when I ordered them because I was planning to order this one, it's a smaller size, because I don't like the big dolls. I like to work with objects I can hold, and I can hold this, but I cannot hold the small dolls. I mean, the big dolls, they're just too big for me, and I don't like them to have human features. And the bigger dolls have more human face, and they have definitely human arms and legs, and I don't like that. To me, it's too much personalizing. So there was miscommunication on both of our parts, but I still love them. They're hanging on my wall. But from now on, I'm working with the small ones. So this is my favorite form of a spiritual vessel to work with. Also because it's porous, I can put oil on it and it sips into the wood, and then they carry the essence of that oil. This one, and I added a deer toe bone that I had to this one. This one is an old hag. She smells amazing, and she has a purpose. When I work with her, she's the one that laughs at everything that we take so seriously about our life, everything that we try to control and feel anxious about. When I get stressed, I look at her, and suddenly all the anxiety dissipates, because she basically says, what you think is happening or what you're trying to control, you ain't going to control. So I love working with her. Recently, I got this one. Isn't it great? Look at this one. This one is for abundance. She has a corn tied to her, and she's currently on I have a very special Ouroboros circle with a Jupiter astrological square on it, and she's currently sitting on it. So this is abundance. These dolls, I don't name them for some reason. I don't feel like naming them. I feel like they're all nameless. Whereas with this ones, they definitely have a name. But with this, they have more of an energetic function, right? So this one has abundance. Now the next 3 I'm going to show, the creator created them all 3 as if they're meant to go together. Initially, I bought 2 immediately from this 3 together. And when I got the 2, I just had intuition that the third one they all need to be together, in other words. It reminds me so much of me and my sisters. I have two sisters. We're super, super close. So it reminds me of me and my sisters. And these are my absolute favorite vessel dolls to work with. These three. It also reminds me of the three fates. There's something about the number 3. So the first two that I purchased, here's this one. You guys see it? I absolutely love the red thread. I have a lot of connection with the red thread. I have items that I spiritually threaded with red thread myself. This is something that is very, very prominent in, especially in, oh my God, what am I thinking about? Obviously witchcraft, but I'm thinking about, why is it not coming to me? It's like a particular type of witchcraft. It'll come to me. This one has a key. So this one is transformation and vulnerability, this doll. And I have a few clients that I work with as a psychologist that know my spiritual side, and they will sometimes ask me to do tarot cards for them, and I do. And then we'll have like a session about it. And I will ask them to pick a doll sometimes, depending on how close I am to the client. And depending on the doll they pick, it will tell me a lot where they are in their journey. This is the other one. Look at this one. This is another one that came in the series. She has a blue face. This one is and by the way, Hagrid makes all of them so you can hang them, but I don't. This one is to find your soul purpose. Smells. And this is the one that I didn't get at first, but she waited for me and nobody bought her. And I was so happy that I ended up getting her and she waited for me and that nobody got her. And I can't believe I did not get her because this is so me. Out of all of this, so if I were to personalize the dolls, this is me, this is my younger sister, and this is my older sister. But this is totally me. And this one is, she is here to, she's here to teach you, or to teach me, to teach us, to not be judgmental, to be compassionate and kind. And she is just so yummy. So why are these vessels, right? So why are there items in vessels and how do I work with them? They're vessels to me, like I said, vessels is going to be different. What vessels to me, what vessels to you. These are vessels to me because I intuitively feel like they can contain and hold on to energy, including the skulls. Like I said, I prefer these ones more than the skulls because I'm able to imbibe them with oils and they're able to hold the essence of that oil. And so that appeals to me for my working. I keep thinking about the witchcraft. What am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, oh my goodness, why doesn't it come to me? Wow. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to me, driving me insane. Don't you hate it when you have something, it's very close, like on the tip of your head, but it's not quite there and just, driving you insane? This is a statement. So these are the vessels for me. And the way I work with them psychologically and the purpose I see of the vessels, and I'd be curious to know if anybody wants to do VR, please do, or just comment below. What are your vessels that you work with? Or maybe you, by now watching this, and you haven't realized that you are actually working with something that is, in essence, is a vessel. Vessels, in my opinion, have 3 functions: to create, to transform, and to release. Let me explain. As a psychologist, we do therapeutic sessions in our office or via Zoom, but a space still gets created. That space is a container. I always say that that's an alchemical container where something gets to transmute, something that changes, something that gets to be modified in that container. I see these dolls or any other objects that intuitively feel to me like vessels. I see them as a container. They're able to hold the energy. When I say they're able to create, the way I work with them in order to create is, and to create, transform, or release, all of those have to do with the same thing. I am externalizing my thoughts, I'm externalizing my wishes, I'm externalizing something within myself onto the dolls. Anytime we do an act of externalizing, we take it from inside of ourselves and we are able to release it, if you will. Not necessarily to let it go, but you're able to detach it now from yourself. This is why writing down what you exactly want to do is so powerful versus thinking in your head why you want to do it. This is why doing other acts of actually externalizing are so powerful too, because you're letting them out of yourself and you're starting to actually make things happen. When I work with them to create, the way I use these items to externalize things is it depends on what I want to create in my life. Let's say I want to create a shift in my life toward a more transformative space, toward a more space of growth, and toward more space of elevation within myself. I will be working with this doll because that's what her energy represents to me. And when I sit with her, when I work with her, and I work in different ways, sometimes I write when they're close to me, sometimes I will put an oil and I will sit there and I will maybe even think about them, or, I'm not somebody who tends to have conversations with the items, because for me, talking out loud doesn't feel in alignment with myself. My ego gets in the way because it feels very silly to me. But I will write, or I will sit and I will draw maybe cards in engaging in conversation with her, because what I will try to do is what I'm trying to do, and why she's a vessel. I'm actually transcending my energy into this vessel for her to carry on in order for me to create. And that's how she becomes a vessel. Now, when I want to work in order to transform, right? Now we talked about create, but now I'm going to talk about transform. In order of transforming things in our life. Sometimes we want to transform. Think about psychotherapy. If you've ever been in psychotherapy, you come into psychotherapy and you externalize your thoughts. A lot of times you leave them in the office. A lot of times through the conversation with the psychotherapist, you transform the narrative. You give it a different meaning. You give it a different understanding. Suddenly you see differently. Suddenly you understand it differently. This is how they work as vessels in order to transform for me. So if there's things that I want to change about something that I don't like, something that is not working for me, I'm going to step into dialogue with them. Again, for me, dialogue is writing. For me, it's also dialogue, pulling cards and stepping in a conversation. But I am now giving this energy to this object to take the energy in to do the work that I needed to do. And in a way, it becomes magic, right? But it's also very much psychological, because I'm also mentalizing to my subconscious that this is what I'm doing. So that way my subconscious can also do its own work. The most powerful way psychologically to work with these vessels is to release. What do I mean by releasing? Sometimes a lot of times we have wounds, we have hurts. I know I have wounds. I know you have wounds. To live a life and not get wounded is impossible. Life is one big container where a lot of scarring happens. And it's how you move through life and how you move through those challenges. And it's how you accumulate those scars and the narrative, most importantly, the narrative you allow yourself to carry in relationship to those scars that either liberate you, empower you, or enslave you. What do I mean by that? I had cancer when I was 16. I had a horrific osteosarcoma, malignant cancer of the right knee. I had 16 chemotherapy sessions. I had 3 surgeries. I have complete removal of my knee. So I have a wound about it. I will always have a wound around having cancer and spending 2 years battling it. I also have a narrative around it. I have my stories that is mine around it. I could have had a narrative of a victim, a narrative that from now on my life will never be the same, a narrative that from now on I will always be damaged, that nobody will love me, that no Nobody will find my legs attractive. No man would want to be with me because my leg is, I say it how it is, I said it's fucked up. Or I can have a narrative of liberation, that I'm free from cancer. I beat cancer. I kicked cancer's ass. Or, in my case, what I chose to have is a narrative of empowerment. It's a narrative that because of cancer and the scar I have, I, unlike many people, me and a lot of rare people who ever faced death in this lifetime, I've gotten on the dance floor. You know that memento mori macabre, death comes and invites you to dance, whose turn it's going to be. I actually danced with death. I did. And I did not let death seduce me. And I told death pretty much to go fuck itself, at least for the time being. So I choose to use it as a way to empower me. I know now that no matter what happens to me, I already had one of the worst things that could happen to you. So we'll construct narrative, and we have to be very mindful and aware of the narratives we construct. But let's get back to releasing. Okay, releasing the energy. So to release, we have wounds. And to release is the most powerful things you can do with this type of spiritual vessels. Akin to, again, therapy. Sometimes people come to me and I work with, and they have horrible, painful stories. And I tell them, now your story is right there in the corner. You left, you're carrying this heavy load. Now it's here. When you're going to come back, it's still going to be here. We'll talk more about it, but it's here. It's a symbolic release of wound. That's what it is. And so it becomes really, really important. Working with these objects is the same thing. If you have wounds, if you have hurts that you haven't healed from yet, and there always, you can release that energy onto an object, and you can allow this object to hold on to this. Again, it doesn't mean that pain is magically goes away or suddenly disappears or suddenly you don't feel it. But psychologically, you'd be surprised what it does to you. You'd be surprised what this type of spiritual behaviors that we all do, tarot, the spiritual vessels, or you name it, they all do amazing things to our unconscious. We think we're doing everything consciously, but don't forget that consciousness is only 10% of us. 90% is what's unconscious. And when we do anything consciously, it starts the wheels turning unconsciously. I say this all the time. This is analogous to when I work with clients and people say, I want to write down what you're saying so I remember it. And I always say, don't. Your consciousness wants to remember, but your unconsciousness will never forget. Whatever was said within an hour already got deep down inside of you, and your unconscious from now on is going to do its own work. All of these activities we do in order to promote self-growth, it's like throwing little bites of necessary nutrition to your subconscious or unconscious, however you want to use the language, and letting that do the work for you when you are not even aware of it. That's how things work. That's how psychology works. And these items, whatever you consider as a spiritual vessel, are incredible tools for that purpose. Tarot undoubtedly is also a spiritual vessel. I don't see it that way because for me, I need vessels to be a little bit more removed from everyday mundane, not mundane, but let me just say it this way. I use tarot a lot of times. I can do daily draws. I can do, I use it for so many ways. I need a little bit of divorce from it. And I need to have items that for specific function. And for me, vessels are that specific function. So that's how I use them. And again, the way I see their psychological function is to create, to transform, or to release. And I'm sure there's other functions, but this is how I see it. And it's externalizing this energy that really makes a lot of things happen. So I'd love to hear what are those vessels for you, because I know that a lot of people who practice, especially a lot of people who engage in witchcraft, it's fascinating how many vessels are in witchcraft. Anytime people take a candle and then they scribe spell on a candle, that's a vessel, that's a container, that's a psychic container that they either externalizing to create to transform something in their life or to release something in their life. And it's really amazing how much psychology is embedded in everything that we do. I'm not trying to minimize it to psychology in order to negate the mystical, the magical, the fascinating, because that's still there. That's still there. For me, it makes it much more interesting and relevant when I can also relate it in this way. And oh my God, what is that witchcraft? Why? Oh my God, what I have all of these books. Gamma Gary, and I dabbled it and it was not for me. Anyway, it's probably will come to me the minute I'm gonna upload the video, and then I'll be smacking myself on the forehead. But comment below or do a VR video and share what are your vessels, how do you work with them, and what purpose they serve for you. And I'll see you guys all next time. Bye.